Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. It is story time live. What was it? Episode 55? I can't even keep track. It's almost as many episodes as Breen is years old. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's having a good night. This is, your late night bedtime stream. Hope you guys have gotten yourself cozy, getting ready for bed, got yourself a nice beverage. You know, I got one. I always have one. You want to chill out, read good comics, or listen to good comics, or hanging out, chatting with your buds. You should always have a nice, refreshing beverage. Drinking Old Standby Modelo Especial, one of my beers of choice. Hashtag real men drink lagers. Let's see who. Melissa Harris is first. Surprise, surprise. New person in the chat. Damian Victor says, "Hey, bitch." Wow. Did your mom teach you those manners? And then Comic Quirks with Jimmy is second. Wrong. You're third. Jimmy. You're third, buddy. Christopher Barker says third. Smash the meat bags. No, Chris, you're fourth. Let's see. Dragon Majesty's in the house. Melissa, already said hi to Melissa. Tahilam with his trademark G2C you all. Ryuk is also here. Who else? I'm just trying to go through, see some names. Rusty Deo. Oh, shit. Eric's here. I hope you didn't hear what I just said earlier, did you, Eric? I hope not. I'm just kidding. I busted. Dude, this guy busts my balls more than anyone. He can take it. Good to see you guys. Really, honestly, I look forward to doing these 3 times a week. It's fun to hang out, see you guys, talk about whatever's on your minds. Hopefully, some comics. It's weird to run a comic channel and then have a bunch of people you interact with and people don't talk about comics. This is a strange phenomenon that happens over at Englantine. And I mention that because a lot of people in this chat are also regulars for Englantine's channel. And it's just a strange thing. It's like, maybe it's because we talk comics so much that when we get together, we just stop talking about comics. No, but honestly, that's why I like to be here. And you guys, I'm sure some of you are like, you're thinking, Ash, you really could have fooled me because you're always talking about something else. You're right. I do. I get wound up on a lot of things. I'm one of those people that wears their heart on their sleeves. Like, I don't have a filter. I don't have like a, what do you call, like, I don't really hold back. I just let everything out. And, it's one of those double-edged swords. It's good because I'm the kind of person that what you see is what you get. I'm not one of those people that schemes behind the scenes. I don't, I'm talking behind people. I'm not fake. But on the other hand, I don't have like I said, I don't have a filter, and sometimes I'm a little too blunt, and I can irritate or annoy people. Let's see. Anything besides just a hellos? Chris says he's jamming some awesome metal music. Ryuk says, I want to see how the flaming DD are made like in the movie. Huh? I'm lost already. What's the band? Chris says it's Unleash the Archers. I've never heard of Unleash the Archers. What kind of metal is it? Let's see. Power metal. Okay. I'm not sure what power metal is. I'm kind of a thrash fan myself. Let's see. Rusty says, "What's up?" Hi, kids, from Eric Breen, because we're all kids to Eric. We're all Eric's kids. Grandpa Breen is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. One of my longest friends of the channel has been here as long as most anybody, I have to say. Tahilam says, will Ash have a guest this time? No one. Surprising, you would think with my straw power that I would have tons of people banging down my doors trying to be a guest. But no one really ever asks to be my guest. To be fair, I don't really work very hard trying to get anyone to be a guest either. mostly because I guess I don't think of myself as some like, oh, you want to be a guest on my show type. I don't think of myself as, I just think of this as like a hangout. But if anyone would have interest in being a guest and they feel that they can talk on air and hold a conversation, you've seen me have guests before. You've seen how I've been with Breen. You saw Nalo. Hit me up. I like talking with people, and let's see what we can do. Eric says, I heard you're poor man's Tom Snyder. Who's Tom Snyder? I don't know what that. Let's see. Chris is apparently still headbanging. I'm too old to headbang, man. It gives me a headache. I start seeing stars, and then I gotta go lay down. Let's see. Jimmy says, only you can see the first guy, Ash, so you weren't wrong. No, I saw Melissa. Melissa's first. You guys can't see Melissa? I know you can see Melissa because every time you guys show up, you say, damn it, Melissa's first again. No, there's a person, Damien Victor, who posted right after Melissa, which is weird because on my PC chat, I see it, but on my iPad, I don't see it. So I know what you're talking about. That's a weird hiccup. But trust me, it's there right after Melissa. Damien Victor posted, hey, bitch. So maybe he removed it. I don't know what the deal is because I am reading the chat. One of the chats through the actual studio, the YouTube studio. The other one is on a secondary account, just like you guys. So maybe I have privileges. I can see stuff even if you delete. I don't know. I don't know what the hell. It's YouTube. This wouldn't be the first time that they removed chats or didn't post them or whatever. Let's see. Where was I? Christopher Barker says, Ash, Swamp Thing coming to CW on October 6th. And on the 8th, Supernatural's final 7 episodes. Will Andrew Dabb fuck up the end? Well, Chris, I know you watch my show quite a bit, and for that I thank you. You should know that I don't really watch CW shows. So I don't mean to be flippant, but don't know, don't care. I am a little curious about Swamp Thing, though, because I heard people say that was really good when it was on the DC thingamabob, the DC universe that they're apparently killing. I'm curious to see how this works. They're migrating all the shows off of the DC universe, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to charge for what now? For comic access that's not even as big as Marvel? I don't understand. What are you doing over there? I get that you're going to migrate stuff over to the HBO, right? Because AT&T's bought you. It's kind of stupid to have a DC TV channel. I think, honestly, what I would have done is make DC Universe a subset of HBO Max. So that if you subscribe to HBO Max, you get DC Universe like included, or offer DC Universe by itself for maybe a slightly smaller fee. And the reason I would do that is because you want people to get on HBO Max, and that's your target. And it's it's a little bit of trickery, right? So what you're doing is, and I'll just do made up numbers here because I don't know what the market analytics are for real pricing and stuff. So I have to make up stuff. But let's just say they want to do $12 a month for the Max, HBO Max stuff. That's their price point that they want to market for, which sounds about right because that's kind of what that'd be $1 underneath Disney Plus. I mean, already HBO used to be $15 a month by itself, so maybe I don't know. But let's say you do that. Well, then you can continue to operate DC, and you can include the DC Universe, or you say, okay, well, DC Universe is going to cost you $7.99, and you'll get those shows and stuff. But someone's going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, well, basically it only cost me $5 more, and I get all the stuff I'm getting that I want. But for $5 more, I get all the HBO Max stuff too. Like, that's a deal. So what you're really trying to do is upsell. But by migrating the TV stuff off of the DC universe, yes, you're still selling it for whatever price point. I don't know what it is. Well, I'm just saying $12. And people go, okay, I got to get $12 for that. Now you're forcing them to have to pay like twice, because if they want the comic book stuff, and I don't really think the comic book stuff is really that worth it. Ultimately, when you start making the big money, the Netflix money, the comic book money should cease to be important at all, right? And so having this price point for that seems silly. And like I said, I think what you want to do is get a lot of people going, why would I just pay for DC Universe by itself? I might as well upgrade. You make the basic package. It's kind of like I was having a discussion today actually with, was it today or Wednesday? Oh, it was at the comic book store. That's right. It was Wednesday. I was talking to the owner of the store, and we were talking about big gulps and stuff. And he was talking about how, like, he goes to McDonald's, and like McDonald's has like any size. Well, actually, he was wrong now that I think about it, because it's any size drink for 99 cents. But anyways, his concept was correct. He was talking about how you can go through and you can get your drink for $1. And then he watched someone in front of him get a drink, like a small, for like $1.60 or something. And maybe he was confusing McDonald's for somewhere else, because this does happen. In fact, it happens at 7-Eleven. You can get a big gulp for 49 cents, or you can get a super big gulp for $1.50. Makes no sense. I mean, you say, well, Ash, the super big gulp's bigger. Yes, but you can get 2 big gulps for $1, which is 64 ounces. Super big gulp's 40 something. Anyways, my point being is, if you're selling the small for $1.60 and the large for $1, why wouldn't you just buy the large? Or it's the movie theater thing, right? Why would you get the small soda for like $4.50 when the large soda costs you like $5, like 50 cents more? You just whatever. Like you just feel stupid buying the small. It's there for people that absolutely insist, you know. Anyways, I've been rambling way too long. That's what's called in the weeds, kid. Breen and I found your channel around the same time, but he was first. That is true. Jimmy has been around for a really long time. I don't actually know who was first. That wasn't really my point, but it was just about Eric being around for a long time. But yes, Jimmy, to your credit, Jimmy has been around also for a long time. Let's see. Ash, if you want some thrash metal, go listen to Creator, Death Angel, Overkill, or Havoc. All right. I will try to remember those names and check them out on the Google Play Music for as long as they keep that around, because they're getting rid of it because Google's stupid. I will check that out. I'm very, very particular with music. I'm one of these weirdos. I have a really broad taste in music. I like all kinds of music, but I typically only like a few samples within any given genre. So we'll see how that goes. I'm always curious to find new stuff, though, because of that precisely. I mean, there's not a lot of metal that I listen to, but Jimmy says Rammstein is my go-to thrasher. I don't know if Rammstein's thrash. I don't know what real metalheads would call. Chris, you sound like a metalhead. You tell me what the official term for Rammstein is. I would call it industrial metal. But what do I know? This is something that was like 30 years ago. They have like a million different metal subgenres nowadays. Melissa says, I have fun with you guys. Well, thanks, Melissa. We have fun with you here too. CW plans to ruin Walker, Texas Ranger and Cook. Jesus, Melissa's always the doom and gloom. She's always pointing out how everything's getting ruined. Dragon Majesty says Tom Snyder hosted the original late night show after Letterman. There was a late night show after Letterman? What? That shows you what I know. Christopher Barker, Ash single issues are outdated. Trades are the future. I also argue comics are better today than they were 20 years ago. Well, 20 years ago, the comic industry was coming out of a crash. And even then, the post-crash comics are better than most comics today. So I would have to argue with you. But if you want to go back even further, before the crash, like the early 90s and the 80s, I would have to say you're high as a kite. Now, that is not to say that there aren't good comics today. That is absolutely true. But it's not fair to cherry pick and say, well, look, I can find 10 really great comics today that are better than comics, in let's say the 80s. Well, I can do that too. But what I can't do is find more bad comics in the 80s than I can today. In fact, I can probably find 10 times as many bad comics today as there were in the 80s. And there weren't really that many bad comics at all. The really only bad comics were the ones people were making like in their garage. And you knew, like you could just tell. They didn't even have like a publisher. The indie scene used to be super indie. Like today it's like people think indie, it's like, oh, Zenoscope, Dynamite. Like they didn't exist. It was, people were doing like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were being made out of a back room. And that was one of the successes. There were so many failures, but you knew when you bought those type of comics, you kind of knew they were gonna suck. You weren't buying them because you were like, oh, this is gonna be the best comic ever. The same reason you didn't go see a local band at some joint, that's had like 50 seats and expect them to be like the greatest band. Like sometimes you just want that raw potential, that garage band experience. And that's what indie comics used to be. And you were okay with it. You were like, look, I don't give a shit that this comic sucks. There's something about it that draws me, that I feel a connection to, and I'm happy. I want to buy it. Nowadays, everything's so pretentious. And like I said, by far, Marvel prints, well, I don't know what they're doing nowadays with COVID, but pre-COVID numbers, Marvel was doing about 100 issues per month. 100 comics a month. And they still had less good quality comics than, say, in the 80s when they were doing maybe 25 comics a month. That's a problem. When you're doing 25 comics a month and say 20 of them are good versus 100 comics a month and say 5 of them are good, it's a big problem. And that's why you see the industry the way it is. It's not because there aren't good comics. In fact, I'm reading one tonight, Daredevil. That Daredevil book that I'm reading, I maintain is as good. This is a book I would have bought back in the 80s and 90s. It's that good. This Brubaker Captain America is good. Of course, that's 10 years ago, but you get the point. Ash listens to his music with his pinky extended. How dare you, Eric? Doug Johnson is in the house. He says probably industrial metal like Fear Factory, Static X. Let's see. That's another genre that I really want to like, but I like very few bands in, is industrial, like proper industrial. One of my favorite bands of all time is Frontline Assembly. If anyone's in the chat that knows that band, props to you. Let's see. But Ash, you're mostly doom and gloom. Melissa has you beat. Wait, how does Melissa have me beat if I'm mostly doom? I don't. Melissa says, Ash, I can't wait till one day when the X-Men leave the ethno-state and separatist bullshit behind and be goddamn heroes again. See, and you were saying Melissa was all doom and gloom. That's an optimistic attitude right there. Because my attitude is that ain't ever gonna happen. I just don't want to rain on Melissa's dreams. I want her to keep hope and feel that one day she'll get to see that. I don't want to make her feel bad and say, don't hold your breath. It's never going to happen. The X-Men are dead forever. But we can all have dreams, and that's healthy. Doug says KMFDM is pretty cool. Yeah, KMFDM is pretty cool. I listened to them for a while. I never got like hardcore into them, but if I had friends that were playing KMFDM, I'm like, oh, cool. Now, if people know that band, that's another one. Shout out to you, Doug, for knowing even who KMFDM was. Doug says, what is the best music to listen to while reading Dark Knight's death metal? Wow, I don't know. I haven't even actually read the death metal stuff yet. But when I read the original metal series, I'll tell you what I did do is I went on YouTube and I searched for playlists. Was it YouTube? No, it wasn't. It was on Google Play Music. And I searched for playlists of um, metal music without lyrics. So people on there make all their own playlists all the time and stuff. So it's pretty cool. You can find stuff. So I found a pretty cool playlist that was all metal, but no, I cannot listen to music that has lyrics while I'm reading. It's so distracting. I can't do it. I have to listen to instrumental. So I found instrumental, basically that's what I should have said, instrumental metal. And that was pretty cool for reading metal. I'd assume probably the same thing. Dragon says, I would think any death metal is apropos. I might be able to actually listen to death metal while reading it because you can't understand what anyone is saying in death metal songs or singing rather. Like it's just, and you're just like, okay. The problem with me is when I hear words it muddles up with me trying to read. But death metal, it's just grunting and growling. For me anyways. I don't hear the words. Ash, I heard Target had a $400 pre-order for Galaxy's Edge vintage Millennium Falcon. Like, what the fuck? I'm assuming it's just another version of the Millennium Falcon that's in the Galaxy's Edge. So it's just the Millennium Falcon. I'm not sure what that is, but I can tell you, I know a person that has the Lego super mega whatchamacallit, the super mega Millennium Falcon version that's like over $1,000. In fact, that's a cue to pull something up here. Let me see if I can find it. I'll show it to you guys. Lego Millennium Falcon. Oh, the price came down. He has this. Last time I saw this, it was $1,600, but now it's just over $1,000. He has this. I have pictures of it. Through like the creation. I didn't watch him build it, but yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's really crazy that someone would buy such a thing, but he and his wife are hardcore Star Wars fans, and they have the resources, so more power to them. It was pretty cool to look at and say that's really awesome. There you go. Let's see. Scared me for a second because the chat stopped moving on the iPad. So I was like, is anyone hearing me? Let's see. Did I not? Oh, I didn't transition. There you go. I'm not good behind the scenes doing. I need a producer to do my production stuff behind the scenes. Gladiator Hulk and Professional Hulk are both my favorite Hulks. Okay. I really liked Planet Hulk. Ash is trying to steal your title, says Chris. I'm not trying to steal it. Melissa's first. I can't be first. Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters is a sad place without wheelchair-bound Professor X who looks like Lex Luthor in a wheelchair. He should not look like Lex Luthor. That's doing him wrong, in my opinion. Rick says, listen to One by Metallica. I feel is best to listen while reading metal, especially during the fight scenes. Yeah, I could see that. I once made a Metallica mixtape back in the days when you made mixtapes. But I got this computer program that would strip the lyrics or the vocals out of a song. So I would do all these Metallica songs and I would strip the vocals out and use that actually for RPG sessions. Let's see. I wish Professor X would never have gotten his mobility back. It ruined him just like DC ruined Oracle by getting rid of her disability. Well, Melissa, I agree with you, but I also think you're missing the bigger picture. The problem with modern Professor X is not him being mobile. I agree he should be in the wheelchair, but that's like worrying if if you left the stove on while the house is burning. It's like, well, at that point, who cares about the stove? Like, the house is on fire. Let's see. Chris says, Ryuk, fuck Metallica. Wow, that's not very nice. I love Metallica. Metallica's got some great stuff, especially like their last two albums, which have gone thrash. They fired that stupid producer Bob Rock, who I think was instrumental in ruining their sound. And then they hired, I forget his name, but I guess he's the producer of Slayer. And yeah, their last two albums have been fantastic. And apparently they're in the studios. They have a new album. I'm a big Metallica fan. So sorry you don't like them, Chris, but I think you're in the minority on that one. Dragon Majesty says, try Liquid Tension Experiment for instrumental metal. Liquid Tension Experiment. I should be taking notes. In fact, I'll do that. I have a notepad right here on my computer. Liquid Tension Experiment. All right, put that down. Let me scroll up and see those other bands that I already forgot. I wish there was a search function in the chat where you could just like type a keyword and it would take you right to, where someone said. Because oftentimes I can remember like, oh, someone said this thing, but then there's like a big old list of chat and you're like, I don't know where that was. All right, cool. Found it. Where did Breen go? We start talking about metal and Breen leaves because he's an old fart. He's like, you kids, your music. Get off my lawn. Let's see. Vintage Collection is a toy line, Ash. Look it up. Are you talking about for Amazon? Vintage Collection in toys and games? Oh. That's interesting. Look at this blasphemous product right here. Look at that. Blasphemy. They want $100? Ah. 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 Oh my god, it's not even a real X-Wing. They made these abomination X-Wings. Is it wrong to say orange X-Wing bad? I don't know. That's what I think there. I don't know what they're doing. Let's see. Doug says, looks like a nightmare of thousands of pieces all over my living room floor. Yeah, dude, Eric, or not Eric, that's me. That is me, but it's also Eric Breen. Rewind. Going back, Doug Johnson, dude, the manual for that, like the instruction manual, was over 1,000 pages. It was over a foot wide. Like, it was one of those like horizontal, like landscape format manuals, and it had like a spiral binder, and it was probably over almost 2 inches thick. Like, this just super, like, it was like something like for like for building a house, like that. I don't know what it would. The manual for that thing was nuts. I was like, holy shit. Let's see. RDV says Metallica rocks, and Venkman would know. I have to agree with Venkman, and when I agree with Venkman, you know it's right. Chris says Metallica is way too generic. Also look up ABCs of Metallica. Such cringe. Metallica is too generic. Seems to be one of the most ridiculous statements. Metallica sounds generic to you because Metallica was they were the first wave. Like, they're the tip of the spear. They pioneered so much that's in metal today. I mean, I was around when Metallica broke through the scene, and metal at the time was things like Ozzy Osbourne, Dio, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden this band Metallica comes out and we're like, what the fuck is this? We're like, holy shit. And they changed metal forever. Now, they're not the only ones. I'm not trying to say that, but to call them generic just seems very short-sighted, and it's just like saying, well, you've heard that sound so much now. It does sound generic to you because it's been done so much to death. But if you go back in time 40 years, they were the only ones doing it. Like, that's not generic. They're the ones that were pioneering the sound. Let's see. Breen went to bed. The Thor stream tuckered him out. Oh, yeah. Eric's still with us. He says Metallica's next album would be called Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. But Jethro Tull already took that. And they took the Grammy from them in 1989. Yeah. And meanwhile, everyone's remembering Metallica and not Jethro Tull. That's the Grammys for you. I mean, anyone can win a Grammy except for people who deserve it. It's kind of like an Eisner. Honestly, I saw after what Ryuk that I don't honestly I saw after Injustice, for they look a slow trend downward after Ash come. I don't know what that's. I can't make heads or tails of that that one, Ryuk. I'm sorry. Melissa Ethnostate comments. I get it. Chris says don't get stupid with the X-Men name, calling it Ash. If I were 7 years old, I would think the vintage collection is awesome. Problem is, price too up. No, I disagree, Chris. If you were 7 years old, you wouldn't think the vintage collection was awesome, because this is clearly targeting people like me who were around when the vintage collection wasn't vintage, it was normal. This is a pure nostalgia trip. If you were 7 years old, you'd be like, what's this old timey shit? Like, this is not how you market to kids. When I was a kid and I saw toys from 40 years previous, so I was a kid in the 80s. So yeah, toys in the 40s, I was like, I wouldn't think it's cool, especially if it had packaging like it was from the 40s. I'd be like, no, I don't think so. I think this is totally meant to appeal to adults, which is why it also has an adult price tag. And honestly, young kids don't even care about new Star Wars. Disney completely screwed the pooch. They didn't try to make good movies for kids to enjoy. They tried to just make nostalgia trips and pull the money from the older generation with all the money, that have the kids that just want to revisit their childhood, and they messed up. And now no one wants to buy this crap. Well, not no one. Apparently, a few people want to buy it, but and I don't like this vintage. I don't. And it's clear to so many things. Like, what the hell is this thing? Oh, it's just from the Han Solo movie. They make all these new toys. Like, they make these things in these movies that have 3 seconds of screen time, so they can be like, oh, look, we can make a toy out of it now. Sorry, I'm bitter. I'm going to get away from this before I insult anyone. Ash is like a rainbow in the dark. Run to the hills. Maiden is one of my favorite bands. I've been listening to Iron Maiden since I was 9 years old. So since 1982, almost 40 years I've been listening to Iron Maiden. Love Iron Maiden. Ash, naming rock bands makes me say, is that a JoJo reference? You saying is that a JoJo reference makes me clueless. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm an old timer. Get your newfound fangled references off my lawn. Let's read comic books. Oh wait, no, let's go to CBR. Oh look, Ben Affleck to return as Batman in the Flash movie. Wah, wah, wah. Seems like physical assaulter Ezra Miller, who likes to put his hands around women's throats and choke tackle them, is still going to be able to have a movie made with him because why not? I mean, the rules just don't apply to lefty weirdos. And instead of using this new Batman, they're going to use Ben Affleck. Everyone wants to see Ben Affleck in an actual Ben Affleck directed Batman movie because he's actually a better director than he is an actor. And everyone was hoping, this is the whole reason why people got excited that he signed up for Batman. The whole reason why people were like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, okay, fine, we'll tolerate him in Justice League. Fine, whatever, fine. Give us the Ben Affleck Batman movie. That's what we want to see. And then it all falls apart, and then they make this new thing. I feel like I don't need to read anything because the headlines just say everything that matter. There's no story here. You know what my thinking is going to happen that they're doing this is they're going to use this movie to write his Batman out of the DCU. So when they make the Matt Reeves Batman movie, everyone's like, well, why is it not Ben Affleck? Why? Because we wrote him out. We did Flashpoint. And then Matt Reeves Batman can be like New 52 Batman. There you go. I don't even need to read the article. I just make shit up. And before you criticize me, CBR makes up half the shit anyway. Let's see if there's anything else. Avatar is consistently inconsistent, and that's a good thing. I'm going through Avatar right now. I think I watch it with my buddy and his kids. And I got to say, it's a really cool show for kids. Like really, if you have preteen kids and you want a show that teaches them like values, has morals, and I say that in the sense of like a fable, like that teaches the moral of a story. Avatar does a really good job of this. It features things like corruption, brainwashing, it has all sorts of lessons. Those are the ones that stick to me because I'm an adult and those are things that are kind of big on my mind. But there's every episode I'm like, oh man, that was like a good lesson. And it does it in a way that kids can appreciate and have a fun fantasy world. It's not super preachy or whatever, but I enjoy it. Like it's like adults can like it too. It does definitely feel like it's a kid's story, but it's it has a really fun hero's journey, which is great. Story about a hero who needs to become a hero. Like he doesn't start off one. Yeah, it's got some cool stuff. I recommend it for kids. There's a few little SJW BS things in the show here and there, like the Mary Sue-isms and women can do everything just as good as men and better, which isn't so much that I'm against. It's just I'm constantly tired of having it being thrown in my face. Oh, we gotta just shut up already. No, just shut up. You never do that with men. You never tell stories where it's like, look, men can do stuff too. And if you did, you would cringe. And that's what I'm saying. It's just as cringe when you do it with women. White Knight, how Harley Quinn outsmarts Batman and the Joker at the same time. Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Red shows how the White Knight version of the character got the one over and the Joker. What? I didn't know Black, White, and Red was even in the Murphyverse. What? Black, White, and Red is written by Sean Murphy? Dude, DC marketed this thing wrong. I totally avoided this. I was like, fuck this comic. Why didn't you put, like, right on the cover from the pages of White Knight? Oh, God, DC just... What is... Oh, jeez. Ay. Let's see. Kids don't give a fuck about toys in general, Ash. Get your facts straight. What? Are you high? Oh, Chris. Dude. Do you... Sorry. I live with 2 kids, and yeah, they that's all they talk about. Toys. Gotta go to the toy store. When are we going to Target? So you can look at toys. Yeah. Kids absolutely care about toys. What they don't care about is adult toys, like what I just posted. The kids never go ask to look at the Star Wars toys. Never. They look at the weird shit that I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, the stuff that wouldn't appeal to me. It's not supposed to appeal to kids. Batfleck is back. Fuck yeah, DC for life. He ain't back. Sorry. Pimp Daddy Ezra, I'm gonna have to choke a bitch, Miller. That's the funniest thing you've said in a long time, Melissa. That's a good one. There's no SJW moments in Avatar. Stop looking for political bullshit. That is not true. What's her name? The girl, the waterbender is total Mary Sue. She can't do water bending. That's like the whole point of the story. And then miraculously, she becomes Aang's teacher. And she becomes the super prodigy of water and can do anything and can beat up anyone. And she's constantly having to lecture the boys as the only girl until they finally get the other girl, who coincidentally is also the best like she's earthbender, and she's like the best earthbender to ever walk the planet ever. So we got the best waterbender ever and the best earthbender ever. Now the girl, we already established, grew up as a prodigy and has her own special things, but the waterbender girl, like, she couldn't even do water bending. And then when she starts to learn, Aang has to teach her because she can't do the stuff right. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, I'm super best. And then Aang's like, I'm going to learn from you. You could teach me how. And like, it's silly. Sorry. Like I said, it's not super prevalent, but it is there. Also, like how the brother, when he meets the girls, not the earthbenders, but the little Earth Kingdom warrior girls that wear all the makeup, and then he gets his ass handed to him by them because girls regularly beat up men. That's always, and have to make men look stupid always. But it's a cartoon for kids. I don't really mind it because prepubescent kids don't have that same sense. Like, and so my buddy, his kids are a boy and a girl. They're 2 years apart. It's a 11-year-old girl, 9-year-old boy, and they're roughly equals. Like, and they see the world. They don't see the world through genders and sex and everything yet. You know, it's like, so no big deal. Like, it's not a preachy show. I am being overly sensitive. I'm just pointing out that I see it. If that show was remade today, it would be way worse. I saw the original about 15 years ago, and that didn't happen. The original what? Did I miss something? You talking about Avatar? Yeah, I'm talking about... Are you talking about the movie, Rusty? Because I'm talking about the cartoon show. And it does happen in the cartoon show. It's really weird, actually, how she's getting all butthurt. She can't do water bending, and Aang's like so much better than her. And Aang has to be like, you'll get it, and like you know, and he's like having to encourage her, and which is fine. It's cool. I was like, oh, that's great. You know, he's gonna encourage her, and she's gonna, and then like out of nowhere, she just becomes like, the story doesn't even explain like how they go to the water, the southern, is it the southern water, no, the northern water kingdom, and then she can't get accepted by the master there, so the master's gonna only teach Aang because he's a bigot. He doesn't teach. Sorry, he's a misogynist. He doesn't teach girls, which of course is another one of those lessons. Like, look, see the misogynist. So she has to prove herself how awesome she is, like, and fights him in a duel. And it's like, this is a girl just like a couple episodes ago couldn't even like hardly bend water, and she was like gonna give up being a waterbender because she was so fed up, and Aang was so much better than her, and she was jealous. And now all of a sudden she's like fighting the best waterbender of the Northern Kingdom. And by the time they leave and Aang still needs a water teacher, it's like, well, I can learn from her. And it's like, how is she now so good that she can be your teacher? It's so weird. Like, the narrative never explains it, but I'm way in the weeds on that. So yeah, comic books. That's what I was going to do before I lose all viewership. Not that I have many. The good thing about not having a lot of viewers is you don't have many to lose. The bad thing is you don't have many to lose. So we were reading Daredevil. Oh, I forgot. There's a Chip Zdarsky short story in the back of this Daredevil that he illustrated. This is illustrated by Chip Zdarsky, called Sense of Self. Maybe if I hurt the brat. All right, on my way now. Send your pics in an hour. Lockpick. Clang. Daredevil hits one of the pipes. You can see, I don't think Zdarsky is a great illustrator, but I think he's got a really cool visual mind, and I like how he tries to show through pictures what other people would have to use words. And you can see Daredevil's hearing all these sounds, but he isolates. Still no word on the ransom. Maybe if I hurt the brat. Yeah, give him some incentive to pay quickly. All right, on my way now. Send you pics in an hour. You can just, this is really cool, like Daredevil's world of darkness. He smells, you know, the other senses that Daredevil has. Click, 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 clack, click. Pick a lock. And so you can see again, it's the same thing that just happened, but this is from Daredevil's point of view. Clang. So it's like sonar now. Then we see a thug with a knife. Daredevil throws his baton. Hits the light. Lights are out now. But Daredevil can see because of the echoes. And he finds the girl. She hugs him. And it's a real basic story, but then we rewind and we go back and play the same scenes, but through Daredevil's point of view. And this is like the sonar allows him to sense things. I thought that was a pretty cool little thing. Like, not deserving of a full comic, obviously, but a cool little, like, special tag on to an issue. Forgot to even read that. Forgot that was even part of the first issue. All right. Legend of Korra is not as good, but it doesn't suck. I don't know anything about Legend of Korra. I have heard some people say it's not that same type of thing. Christopher says, what? Katara has been doing waterbending longer than Aang. No, she picks up waterbending the same time as Aang. She hasn't been doing waterbending. That's the whole thing. And then they get that scroll, and they're like, oh, and she's trying to do the moves that the scroll says, and she can't do it. And then Aang like picks it up like a prodigy. He's just like, oh yeah, I can do it. Like boom, boom. She gets all fed up. We just watched them. Like I said, we're in the middle of second season right now. Let's see. Melissa, don't spoil stuff. Good Lord. I'm going to have to censor you guys. All right, let's get into comics. This is Daredevil issue number 2, Legacy number 614. And here we go. Puff. Hey, Fred, who's the new guy? On the bag? He's my new partner, Cole. Transferred from Chi-Town. Puff. Whew. He's huge. Single? Straight? I got a cousin who might... Yeah, calm down. I don't think this guy's all that social. Been working round the clock since he got here. Making me look bad. Not that hard, really. Har. What are you guys working on? What? You didn't hear? We're going after New York's most wanted killer. Paff. Chip Zdarsky, Mark Tichetto, Sonny Go. No Fear, Part 2. It all happens quickly. Come on, Matt. Call me back, something. The cops work the crime scene. The robber is declared dead half an hour after he gets to the hospital. It's ruled a homicide. Word spreads, probably leaked by the lesser officers of the NYPD. Daredevil is a murderer. At times like this, it's best to seek counsel. Matt? It's me again. Pick up, man. My counsel is my oldest friend, Foggy Nelson. But he can't help. Oh, he'll think he can. He'll tell me I can turn myself in, prove my innocence, and that they'd maybe even let me keep the mask. He's wrong. I know you've been avoiding me, but you can't... Foggy. I think this is really cool. Upper left-hand corner. You see Daredevil's eyes in the dark. When I read this the first time, I didn't even notice it until I saw the word balloon. And it draws me back up. And I was like, oh, nice. Holy. My God. Matt, you're... I'm fine. I came to tell you I'm fine. Thank God. I thought you'd... I don't know. What happened? That guy. He's dead. It's true. But I didn't do it. I don't kill Foggy. You know that. Somebody's setting me up. What do you mean? Look, you've told me about incidents like this from the past. People who've died. I didn't do it. It was Fisk. It has to be. He's the mayor, pulling some strings. Some guy dies and my hands look dirty. This is him. I know it. I was right about him cheating to win the election, and I'm right about this. Look, buddy. We'll beat this. We'll figure out what happened. There's even a chance we can have them agree to you keeping the mask if we go willingly. You've testified as Daredevil before, so it's not without... There it is. No, I won't do that. Well, at least put the costume away, for God's sake. Everyone's looking for Daredevil, not Matt Murdock. No. If I disappear, it's guilt. The costume stays on. People need to see it. To see me. I'm Daredevil. And I'm innocent. How could something like this be pulled off? Margie patched up the John Doe, so she's back on the floor. Great. And I'm gonna head out back for a smoke. I thought you quit. It's vaping, but I still can't bring myself to call it that. Call it whatever you like. Still ain't good for you. You need people on the inside. Dirty cops. Or doctors with something to hide. What did you do? Ah! Leo Carrero, the thief who died under your watch, Mr. Moffat. What are you? Tell me what happened. I told the police everything. He came in with a head injury at the base of his skull. He's terrified. I can smell the sweat erupting from his skin, trying to escape. I can hear his heart pounding. Boom, 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 boom. But it doesn't skip a beat. Nothing he's saying is a lie. The TC scans showed a blood clot, which meant an acute subdural hematoma. We rushed to start the surgery, but it was too late. Wait. You did this. That man is dead because of you. If you came here to ascribe blame, it's not going to happen. Sometimes I can't save people, but I do my best. But I can fall short. This isn't one of those times. That man was going to die no matter what we did. You know I've patched up guys who crossed you. All of us here have. If anyone knows how precise you are, how surgical with the inflicting violence, it's me. Every one of those people you send to the hospital gets better. I don't know how you manage to know bodies that intimately, but trust me when I say this. You've screwed up. Somebody's dead, and you need to stop with the violence. There are other ways to help. I mean, with your abilities, puff. You should have been a doctor. Fred's competent. Took a bullet a few years ago, the line of duty, but came back like nothing happened. All I care about is he's not dirty. That's what I requested of the captain when I took the job. She just looked at me like I'd spit on the carpet. Man, our suspect's been busy. Old Hornhead's been making the rounds, terrorizing people, saying he's been framed. But she gave me Detective Fred Higgins, and he'll do. What do you think? Staying in the spotlight? Trying to make it look like he's innocent? Maybe. He's calm, even now. Maybe he's been around too long to get suitably awed at what we're doing. I'm not calm. I look it. I always look it. I'm sorry, who are... Detective North and Higgins. They called up from downstairs. We've been cleared to go in. But inside, I'm screaming. I'm sure you were, but the schedule doesn't... Wait, you can't just... Yeah, we can. It's not fear. It's anticipation. How often do you get the opportunity to come face to face with the most powerful man in New York City? Earlier than expected. Please come in, officers. Name's Detective Higgins, and this is Detective North. Is it Cole North? It may not be fear, but a sharp shiver works its way up my spine. Hearing my name from Wilson Fisk's mouth throws me off balance. Gotta stay focused. It is, Mr. Mayor. We won't take up much of your time. As you've no doubt heard, there was a homicide the other night, with the main suspect being the vigilante Daredevil. Yes, I heard. quite tragic. Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime, was the one guy all good cops dreamed of putting cuffs on, even from where I stood in Chicago. And now he's mayor. I'm assuming you're here because of my alleged history with Daredevil. We are. Over the years, you and he have an antagonistic relationship, and since you became mayor, you've been adamant that he be brought in for his vigilantism. This is true. I believe in law and order. Sure he does. Don't you, Mr. Cole? I do. He really does. I don't think people should wear masks and dole out their versions of justice. I don't think anyone should be above the law, Mr. Mayor. I read that our masked man has been scouring the streets looking for who set him up. So you're here to warn me? To see if I've been visited in the night by the devil? Well, I haven't. You could have simply called to find that out, but you didn't. Because you're curious. You wanted to see me for yourself. I mean, you came all the way from Chicago, yes? Leaving behind your life, your friends. Poor Anna. If that's everything, gentlemen, I have a city to run. He won't rattle me. I won't let him. But he's right. This way, if you will. Touch me and I'll have you in cuffs so fast, you toad. I wanted to see him for myself. Smell him. We'll be assigning an extra protective detail for you, Mr. Mayor. The NYPD wants you to feel completely safe. He smells like aftershave and meat. He's just a man. And once I arrest Daredevil, Wilson Fisk is next. Apologies, sir. No apologies necessary, Wesley. I told security to let them come up. I wanted to meet the fine officers. They're the real heroes of this city. Yes, well, sir, I don't need to be privy to all your moves, but this business with Daredevil, are we involved somehow? Wesley, a homicide investigation into a man I loathe, a man who causes me no end of grief. If I had anything to do with it, I would be bursting to tell you. But sadly, it wasn't me. It appears that Daredevil has finally done himself in. I listen. I listen for the telltale skip. It never comes. I take Foggy's advice. Hello? Is anybody here? Oh, I apologize. I didn't see you there, Matthew. It's all right, sister. I clearly didn't see you either. Please. I've told you before. Call me Elizabeth. Sorry, Elizabeth. Is Father Simmons here? I'm sorry, no. Attending to some church business. He'll be back in a few hours if you need to use the confessional. No. That's all right. I just needed to talk. I'm being tested, sis. Elizabeth. Everyone thinks I did something. Something unforgivable. But Nothing is unforgivable, Matthew. Save for your final impenitence. Of course, I'm a good enough Catholic to always repent, but a good enough raised Catholic to feel like it'll never apply to me. All I've ever wanted to do was help people. Well then, help people. She's right. It's not enough to just be visible as Daredevil. I need to remember why I'm Daredevil. I help people. I save lives. I'm good at it. This is who I am. It took me a while to bounce back from my injuries, but I did. And I'm careful. I know just the right amount of pressure to apply to this guy's carotid artery. I know exactly where to kick the solar plexus to knock the wind out of this guy without damaging his liver or spleen. I use violence, but also compassion. When I was younger, I made mistakes, but now I would never kill someone. But who would believe the man dressed as the devil? I spend the day stopping crimes, sensing the fear off both criminals and their victims. I didn't kill Leo Carraro, but all everyone sees is a dead man and another man in a red suit with horns, covered in blood. I can tell Foggy doesn't believe me, that I didn't do this. And if Foggy doesn't believe me, my oldest friend, how am I going to convince anyone? The other heroes, the people I'm trying to protect. Will criminals fear me now? Or just band together to eliminate the threat now that it's life or death? If it wasn't Fisk, then who set me up? I must be missing something. Somebody must have gotten to Carraro first, between here and the hospital. The question is, can my senses pick up anything that can point me in the right direction? The scene is overwhelming. Hard to pick out anything over the smell of burnt, waterlogged building materials, of torched alcohol. It's too much. I can't pick up anything. Except, crime scene's a mess, man. What do you think we'll even find here? Uh-oh. The cops. From Fisk's. I was too distracted by, freeze! Don't even think of moving, you! Shutting out the smells, the noise. Focus. Bang! Ugh! Fuck! Pah! Bang! To 10th and 54th, the suspect known as Daredevil has been shot. Next, the blue and the red. All right. Are you guys done spoiling Avatar for me? Ryuk says, I need to see how the Daredevil does his flaming D's like in the Affleck Daredevil movie. I don't think Daredevil does that except in the Affleck Daredevil movie. Let's just try to forget that Daredevil movie, shall we? um, let's see. Is Daredevil superpowered by the radioactive chemicals in his eyes? Yes, he is, Melissa. She says, in TMNT Origin, unarmed Matt Murdock appears. That is correct. Little piece of trivia. Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, the creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, were huge Frank Miller fans. And when they did their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic, there was a lot of homage to Frank Miller. One of the things that Frank Miller is most famous for, especially back in the 80s, was the Daredevil run. And so they did a knockoff. Like, they basically had the scene that Matt Murdock has the accident. They just never say that's Matt Murdock, so they don't have to worry about any copyright issues or trademark infringement or whatever. But anyone who's a Daredevil fan, or just even a comic fan, could instantly realize, like, oh, dude, that's Daredevil. Like, and it's kind of fun to imagine in your own headcanon that boy in the TMNT comics was Matt Murdock, which is kind of a sad, unfortunate thing that Marvel never. How cool would it have been if Marvel had done a TMNT crossover into the Marvel universe? I mean, they got the Turtles into the DC universe, but they don't seem to quite fit as well there. They seem to fit in New York, right, with Daredevil. That would have been really cool. I'm True Skills in the house says, what's up, Ash? What's up to you, my friend? Good to see you. Daredevil is Batman without the gadgets and the company of the billions of dollars. In some ways, yeah. I think it's funny that he has like the echo sense, right? Like his powers are more in line with actually being a Batman. Like I feel like Daredevil was created to be like, well, what should Batman actually be like? He should have sonar powers. So they made Daredevil, but they can't call him Batman. So it's kind of funny. I actually liken these days, I liken Daredevil to be more like Nightwing, or actually in reverse, Nightwing to be more like Daredevil, since Daredevil came first. But if you're going to have analogs between the two, the characters feel more similar. No, we should never the bad. We must have bad to compare the good to. I don't know what that's from. Oh, you're talking about the movie. Okay. The radioactive chemicals, possibly mutagen. Yes, it was, because that same chemical went down in the sewers and it poured onto the turtles. Because a little kid was carrying a jar of turtles down the street, and then he almost gets hit by the truck. And then, I believe, if I remember right, it's been a long time since I read TMNT #1. The boy, who Matt Murdock shoves the kid away or whatever, he gets hit by the truck instead. He gets blinded. The chemicals fall out, splash in his eyes. He gets blinded. The other kid drops the turtles. I could be messing things up. If I am, correct me in chat. But he drops the jar, breaks. The turtles go down into the sewer. There's also a rat living in the sewer, which is Splinter. Then the ooze from the crash truck drips into the sewer, spills on them both, and that's what mutates them. And Matt gets... Well, if we just assume, if we pretend that boy is Matt Murdock. Mr. Fahrenheit says, The Man Without Fear is an epic story. I agree with you on there. Man Without Fear is awesome. It's only surpassed by Born Again, in my opinion. Born Again is my favorite Daredevil story, bar none. But Man Without Fear is the origin story, so I think they pair really well together. Man Without Fear tells the origin. Born Again tells sort of the end of Daredevil, but it's not the end because comic characters never end. But it was a good ending story. Gosh, my English is just doo-doo today. I was work was so boring today. That's probably why. Don't worry, man. My reading is doo-doo. I've been reading really poorly lately. I wonder, the turtle kid gets mutated. Well, I don't. The kid doesn't get mutated. Like I said, if we're gonna pretend that kid's Murdock, that explains why he's got the special powers of that Daredevil has. Seems like the mutagen only turns animals humanoid, but what does it do to humans? We don't know. Melissa says, are the turtles biologically brothers from the same female turtle? I don't think it's ever concretely stated, but we should assume, because they're all babies. And do turtles lay multiple eggs? I don't know. Like, if they lay multiple eggs, which I do think turtles do, then that would make sense, because they're all the same age. Mr. Fahrenheit says, what do you love or hate about the Bendis Superman? Well, I don't love anything. What I hate is that he has completely deformed the character that makes Superman what he is. He's arbitrarily changed just about everything in the comics, and things that don't need to be changed, things that weren't ever broken. Like, you didn't need to move the Fortress of Solitude from Antarctica. That was just stupid. It makes the most sense to be in the most impossible place to go to in the world, the South Pole. Like, it's to move it into Bermuda, like in the height of shipping traffic, was just idiotic. Everything screamed of Bendis just being like a dog who has to go and piss on every fire hydrant and mailbox and just mark his territory. It just screams like Bendis marking his territory. He just changed. Oh, Jonathan Kent? No, I'm going to change Jonathan Kent to my way. I don't care if people are like my version. He changed everything. The relationship between Lois and Clark. He changed the history of Krypton. Krypton no longer blew up because of an environmental disaster. Krypton was destroyed by a villain. His villain. Oh, look at that. He made the villain to destroy Krypton. How exciting. Oh, except his father actually was the one who blew up Krypton. Oh, surprise. Spoiler alert. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's just stupid. Every turn is Bendis just going, everything you liked about Superman, no, I'm going to change it. And I'm not going to have any sort of good reason. On top of that, I'm never going to let Superman be the hero of his own book. Every single story, at least from what I read, I stopped reading after issues 12 of both series. So I read 30 issues total combined between Man of Steel and the two series. Superman never once was the hero of his own book. In Man of Steel, Supergirl saves the day. In Action Comics, he actually doesn't solve the problem in Action Comics ever. In Superman, Supergirl saves the day again one time. Then Zod has to save the day one time. And then finally at the end of the Rogol Zar big arc, everyone just gets arrested by the Galactic Police. And then they let Superman out because he's Superman. It's so stupid. And then they invent the United Nations because Jonathan Kent's so smart. They make the United Nations in space. And then Superman gets to speak for the world. So Superman gets to become the voice of Earth, even though he's not even human. This is a job that he would never take. I could just go on and on for days, I think, about how stupid Bendis. I haven't even touched on how terrible the writing is. There's no plot. It just wanders aimlessly. It's so full of self-absorbed writing. Just word balloons all over the place that don't have no point to the story. If you took any sort of writing classes, they would tell you everything you need to write needs to be pertinent to the story at hand. If you're writing things in there just to fill page counts or word counts or anything like that, if you're writing things just to be self-impressed with your own words, they don't serve as a story. They don't belong in there. Bendis is a terrible writer, at least in his modern years. He violates everything I've ever learned in writing classes. And he teaches writing, which is bonkers to me, which probably explains why so many comics are terrible, because they actually learn from Bendis. Sorry, I could just keep going about just somebody needs to stop me. Melissa's fortress still in Antarctica because it was in the coldest place on Earth. It's not still in Antarctica anymore. It's in Bermuda. Bendis Superman pissed me off. He also ruined the Legion of Superheroes. He ruins everything he touches. Everything. I can't think of anything that he's done that he has. He ruined Iron Man. He ruined the X-Men. He made Iceman gay. He's just terrible. He's I think Bendis almost gets a sick sense of pride for what he does. Like, I think he's just like, haha, I'm just gonna ruin stuff. But all the usual suspects have stopped chatting. I think Eric Breen likes the fact that I'm reading his Captain America book that he recommended to me, so that he doesn't have to pay attention and follow the book, so he can go to sleep. But that will be our next book for the evening. We're doing Brubaker's Captain America run. It's around here somewhere. I always forget to select the next issue to read. This run and the Daredevil run that I'm reading have a lot of similarities. And I feel like their tone, I think like they're both doing a similar type of thing for their characters, respectively. No, I don't want. No, I want issue 5. You stupid Comixology. You'd think that the biggest retail service in the world would be able to figure out how to get this thing to work right. There it is, issue 5. Ash, you and Professor Geek and Fan Man have something we all hate. Wait, have something we all hate Bendis and Tom King's horrible Batman run. Well, anyone that appreciates writing just isn't gonna like. They're just terrible writing. It's like, but you know, I guess some people, if you like it, you like it. And, I mean, different strokes for different folks. I listed all the reasons. Well, not all of them. The ones that first came to my mind for the Bendis Superman. All right, this is Captain America issue number 5. This is Out of Time, part 5. The invaders on the cover, pretty cool. And if there's no further comments to talk about, let's get into the next issue. We see the SHIELD helicarrier. Sure you don't want to have one of our docs take a look at you, Rogers? I'm fine, Fury. I've been hit by the Hulk. This is nothing. I just want some answers for a change. Someone's been pulling my strings, and I don't like it one bit. I might be able to help you there. A little. You said Crossbones mentioned something about a Russian? Yeah. Well, it took some leverage, but I finally got Interpol to cough up an ID on that dead soldier that we found in London. Turns out he's part of a whole regiment of ex-Soviet soldiers that fell off the map in the mid-90s. Along with their general, Alexander Lukin. Name ring any bells? Should it? Probably not. Lukin was career military, major Cold War player. Apparently didn't like all the changes after the collapse, so he and his men went rogue. The next we see him is 3 years ago as the head of an international corporation with offices in every major metropolitan center in the civilized world. And you think this is the man who killed the Skull? Who's had us running blind? Why? Who can say? Power? It's what most of them are about. No, this is personal. You saw those graves in Arlington. That was meant for me.
My file on Lucan is thin, Steve. Most of what I got is recent. Just since the Cronus Corporation emerged, even the KGB didn't keep tabs on him. Apparently he was a protege of one of their big mucky mucks, some guy named Karpov.
Vasily Karpov?
Think so, yeah. Wait.
Did you just say the Cronus Corporation?
What is it?
Cronus was a small village in Russia, not too far from Stalingrad.
Never heard of the place.
You wouldn't have. It's not there anymore. But that's where I last saw Vasily Karpov. The Russian front, early November 1942. Ugh. Oh, really? You're going to write in Russian? Really? I can't read Russian. What the hell's this shit? I guess I never expected someone would read their books out loud. All right, Bucky shouts something in Russian. Buddha, 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 Buddha. Crack, crack. Crack, crack. Ein Hinterhalt. Hinter uns. Schnell, schnell. Buddha, Buddha. Cap, incoming. Danke. Fire in the hole. Panzer's out for the count. How do we do? All aces, Cap. Not so much as a scratch, too. Blam! Hey! We don't execute prisoners, you friggin'. Easy, Bucky. Easy. Explain yourself right now, soldier. This man was cousin to me. He brought shame on our country to fight for our enemy. He was no longer Russian. So you just shoot him in the head? Let it go, Bucky. This isn't what we're here for. Let's just make sure we get at least one prisoner back to camp. The Hiwis, short for Hilfs Village, okay, were volunteer soldiers, Russian prisoners or deserters fighting alongside the Nazis against their own people. It was just one part of what made the Russian front uglier than what we were used to. The snow and ice were another part. We were camped 10 miles west of Kalach, which the Russians had recently retaken, and Stalin's forces were about to launch Operation Uranus to trap the entire Nazi invasion in for the winter with no supply lines and no way home. But word had leaked that the Germans had some kind of secret superweapon nearby that they were waiting to spring. The invaders had been sent in to find out what this weapon was, and to make sure it didn't stop the Russian op from going off as planned. Colonel Vasily Karpov was the Russian officer in charge of our mission, and I didn't like him. Tell us where the weapon is, Nazi vermin, and I'll stop him before he shows you your insides. Please, no, I will tell you what I know. Of course you will. They always do, don't they, comrade captain? I wouldn't know. Any word, Cap? Yeah, Karpov's tactics aren't to my taste. but he's getting results. Our target is a small village named Cronus, a few clicks north of here. The Nazis have control of the area, and whatever this weapon is, it's being heavily guarded. By some of our kind, you mean? The soldier hadn't seen anything firsthand, Jim. He's just repeating rumors. But it sounds like there's at least one Nazi there who can fly. It's good, then, that we've got 3 flyers to bring him down. I'm counting on that. But how are you holding up with this weather, Namor? Toro's been shivering all day. It's cold as hell, sure, but it won't keep us out of the air. Good to hear. Now get some rest while you can. We hit Cronus an hour before dawn. But I never could sleep the night before a mission. And apparently I wasn't the only one. Captain? Colonel? I see you're more like me, perhaps, than you think. If you say so. You don't like our ways. How easy is it for you to judge us? When Nazis control half of your Washington, D.C., when they turn your own brothers against you, then you can judge. Well, maybe if your leader hadn't been so obliging when they invaded Poland, you wouldn't have the wolves at your door like this. So, your men will be ready for what comes? Much depends on it. We'll be ready. You just remember, you may be in charge here, but if you want to live to see the sunset, you'll follow my orders tomorrow. So, the morning found us with Karpov's hand-picked NKVD squad hiding in the outskirts of Cronus, while our advancing scout cleared the way. Which is the real secret of what Bucky was. The official story said he was a symbol to counter the rise of the Hitler Youth. And there was some truth to that, but like all things in war, there was a darker truth underneath. Bucky did the things I couldn't. I was the icon. I wore the flag. But while I gave speeches to troops in trenches, he was doing what he had been trained to do. And he was highly trained. He wouldn't have been out there with us if he wasn't. Blue Jay to Eagle, we are go for launch. With the perimeter guard out, we should have been able to waltz right in, but we didn't get that lucky. No! Hold your fire, damn it! Suddenly the alarm is raised and it all goes to hell. It's almost like they're expecting us. Nazis start crawling out of the woodwork. Along with something far worse. Master Man, Hitler's personal super soldier. As he rattles off something in German that I can't read. We'd been expecting him. Or something like him, of course. Torch, Namor, now! We face threats like this all the time. But I can only imagine what this kind of combat looked like to the Russians. Keep your men back, Karpov. Protect the villagers. Keep them safe. They'd been fighting a war of attrition over each block of Stalingrad and every acre of their countryside. Yeah. And now there were men doing battle in the sky above them. Men on fire. Finding the secret weapon wasn't a problem. We just looked for where the Nazi guards were heaviest in number and made for that. Chuk, 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 chuk. Ugh. Bucky, machine gun, 12 o'clock, take it. Grenade. Boom. Careful, Buck. We don't know what's down.
What the hell is in there?
Whoa. Cap, look.
I had a few seconds to survey the damage the Nazi superweapon had done, to realize what it would probably do to anything else that got in its way. And then it was back with a vengeance. Move now! Go, go! Its beams tore through the houses and people indiscriminately. And through the flames, I saw the ringleader of this little band of terror, the Red Skull, behind the controls. I'd realized later he was setting the self-destruct on the device, knowing he was outnumbered and his cause was lost. So he was creating the biggest distraction he could to cover his escape. Skull, damn his eyes. Cap! Let him run. We gotta help these people. Which is exactly what the Skull knew we'd do. Namor and the Torches broke off their battle with Masterman to help get the fire under control, and he and Red Skull disappeared. While we tried to stop Cronus from burning to the ground, the Torch absorbed as much of the fire as he could. He and Toro melted the snow in the sky. God, I can't even read this right. The Torch absorbed as much of the fire as he could, and he and Toro melted the snow in the sky into a hard rainfall. But it was too far gone. The fire had spread too quickly. Karpov, though, was less worried about the innocent villagers than he was about the skull, what the skull had left behind. Get it out of there now. We're taking this machine back to Stalingrad to use it on its makers. And when the skull's booby trap went off, his men burned along with the Nazi weapon. Damn you, you fool! Hasn't there been enough death today? You do not understand. You cannot. You and the Germans, you have your super soldiers, your secret weapons. But we Russians, we have nothing but our winter. We were in the air an hour later, on our way back to England to make our report and try to pick up the skull's trail. The last I saw of Vasily Karpov, he was wandering through what was left of Cronus, surveying the damage I'm sure he blamed on me. Mama, no! Don't be dead, Mama! Please don't be dead! You, boy, come away from there. But my Mama... It's too late for her, boy. Too late for this village, but it is not too late for Mother Russia. What's your name, boy? Alec? You'll come with me, Alec. I'll take you back to Stalingrad and show you what it truly means to be Russian. You've already learned the hardest part. So, what are you thinking? I don't know. Could all of this, the skull's death, the cube, be some kind of long-distance revenge of Karpov's? I don't think so, Steve. Karpov died nearly 20 years ago, while you were still on ice. And remember, he was high-ranking KGB, so he'd have probably heard through one source or another that you died in 45. Yeah, that. What's wrong? Not sure. One thing I haven't mentioned yet. Something's messing with my mind, my memories. It may be the cube. I'm not sure. But that's one reason I contacted you tonight. I need transport somewhere. I need to see if my reality and my memories match up or not. Of course. I'll send an order to the flight deck right now. Care to tell me where you're headed? Actually, no. I don't.
You rang?
Yeah. Call down to the flight deck 1 and tell them to give Rogers a hyperjet. Take him wherever he needs to go. And then see why Agent 13 hasn't called in a progress report yet.
Yes, sir.
Is there something else, Teresa?
Did you show him the file?
Croesus. Aren't you getting enough gossip listening in on my private line?
Apparently not, sir.
No, I didn't show him the file.
Oh, look at that. Classified Winter Soldier.
I want to be 100% sure about this before I destroy his world, if that's okay with you.
I love this book. This is really good so far. It's a shame that I didn't get to read this when it first came out. I bet this was so much better when you didn't know who Winter Soldier was. Like, you were just like, what could that possibly be? Like, it's, of course, now we take Winter Soldier for granted. It's kind of a common thing, but this would have been really cool back then to be like, what? I'm kind of a sucker for big reveals. But the chat has gone pretty quiet. Only got a few people lingering. It's a slow night. I appreciate everyone that's still here listening. Hope you enjoyed those stories. I enjoy reading them. It's really fun reading out loud, even though I mess up a lot. You should try it sometime. I never thought it'd be something I'd like to do, but it is kind of fun to try to dramatically read a story. And I'll tell you another thing too. When you read out loud, it forces you to read the comic at the proper beat. A lot of times when you read silently to yourself, you'll tend to read like hyper fast, especially if you're a really good reader, which works okay for prose if you're reading like a novel or something. But for comics, the way comics are designed, the art and the layouts and so forth, they're designed to have a certain beat, like music, right? You wouldn't play a music too fast or a music. You play a music. You wouldn't play music too fast or too slow. It would have an adverse effect on the song. When you read a comic book, especially a well-written comic book by someone who knows how to script properly and lay out scenes, like it has a certain beat that goes to it, and reading it out loud forces you to do that. Then you kind of have to learn to like all the panels that don't have any dialogue or narration, like how to play them at a certain, you just start to naturally play them at that beat. It's pretty good. Hopefully I do a reasonably good job for you to enjoy the story. Hey, speaking of someone showing up at the last minute, Computer Robots is in the house. Good to see you. He says, what do you think of the Netflix cuties controversy? Oh, geez. Sorry, that called for another swig of beer. I think the Netflix cuties controversy is just that. It's a controversy. I saw a tweet that I retweeted and posted, and I think this kind of sums up the problem as I see it. And in the original tweet, I'm trying to remember it offhand. Basically, it was some lefty guy responding to a right-wing talk show guy, Matt Walsh, if you know who Matt Walsh is. And some lefty guy was responding to him. And in it, he was trying to be all snarky and do one of those things where it's like, where he goes, conservatives, and then he says something, and then it says, and also conservatives, to like illustrate a double standard. The problem is these lefties, and they do this, they never really quite get that conservatives actually don't have double standards. It's the left that has the double standards, which is why that particular type of trope and meme and stuff works so well on lefties. And it makes them look stupid when they try to do it to conservatives, because conservatives are conservatives precisely because they have certain principles they follow that define their conservatism. Anyway, so what he says is conservatives, and he basically makes a point. He says, like, oh, I can't believe that HBO canceled, what was it, Gone with the Wind, blah, blah, blah. And then also conservatives, they need to cancel this Cuties from Netflix, like, da-da-da, trying to, like, and again, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly how I said, but trying to make it point out that there's a double standard. And then Matt Walsh just responded, what did he say? He said something like, now I have to, like, look it up, because I hate not knowing exactly what I was saying. It should take me half a second since I retweeted it. Okay, so the original tweet was, conservatives, HBO is terrible for removing Gone with the Wind. How dare they? Also conservatives, this Sundance award-winning film is horrible. Netflix must take it down. I really wish people had more integrity. Where is... And then Matt Walsh says, well, one is an all-time classic, and the other one is a movie about 11-year-olds twerking, so maybe if you think really hard, you might just notice the subtle difference. And they immediately get owned. It's like, you just don't know what you're saying. And then I actually retweeted it myself, and I just flipped the tables. Well, because they're so self-unaware on what they say. So I retweeted saying, leftists, HBO was right to remove Gone with the Wind. Its historical, non-glorifying portrayal of society is problematic. Also leftists, why are people so upset about a Netflix film that promotes the sexualization of preteen girls? Pedophiles gave it an award. They're so self-unaware. They're like trying to show the double standard, and it's like, look, slavery existed. Trying to suggest that no one ever tell a story that depicts slavery is pretty stupid. You're basically trying to say now 12 Years a Slave needs to be banned. Portrayed slavery, right? Any Civil War movie needs to be banned because it portrayed slavery. Like, it's not glorifying. The movies aren't trying to say, yay, pro-slavery, bring slavery back. It's not doing that. It's trying to say, like, look, here's our past. It wasn't always good, but it happened. This was history. Versus, hey, let's make a movie about 12-year-olds twerking. Like, the sexualization of little kids. Like, no. But they don't get it. And that, to me, is what sums up the problem with this whole controversy. Is wokeness is a fraud. Wokeness is completely something used to weaponize emotions and the hearts and minds of people against each other, and to virtue signal, to try to suggest, like, I'm a better person, you're a bad person. It's used to drag people down, and it's all built on nothing. It's just whatever they decide, needs to be proper, or, whatever. It's a French production, but at the same time, I don't like it. How kids are advertised for sexual pleasure. That's not right. I feel bad for this generation of kids because they're advertised this way. Well, yeah, well, let's not give it an excuse because it's a French production. Let's remember that famous child rapist from Hollywood, by the way, that also got awards from Sundance, Roman Polanski, is hiding out, last I remember, in France, where he can't be extradited. This isn't a guy who's accused of a crime. This is a guy who is found guilty. He is a fugitive. He is on the run. And Hollywood celebrates him to this day. He sodomized a 13-year-old girl in a hot tub. Sodomized her. 13 years old. I don't know if you have kids, but if you do, imagine how you would feel if some old dude did that to your little girl. These are sickos. These are the people giving out Sundance Awards. Remember Harvey Weinstein? He's a big Sundance guy. Cuties is fucked up. I can't believe that we live in a society that this even has to be questioned. 10 years ago, that would have never made it on air. People would have been like, oh, what the? No. Now, another part of me has questioned, because some people go, well, you know, it's not what it's, because it's not out yet. I went to Netflix and I was looking at it to get a little bit bigger picture, and it hasn't come out yet. All you have is the preview. Now, the preview looks bad enough, but maybe it's trying to tell some story. I don't know. All I know is preteen children. I mean, it's preteen, 11-year-old girls. This is not even 13. Like 13, it's wrong, but a 13-year-old girl has most likely for sure, you know, started her cycle. She's going through puberty. She's now more sexually aware. It's not quite as mind warping. The sexualization of 11-year-olds. Like I said, I live with an 11-year-old girl. It sickens me to the core. Netflix need to take a note from the Powerpuff Girls reboot when they did their shenanigans unmentionables. Kubero says, you're talking about Roman Polanski, the husband of the late Sharon Tate. I didn't recall he was married to Sharon Tate, but yes, Roman Polanski. Look, we're living in a society, a godless society that is trying to reshape culture so that good is evil and evil is good. Virtue is vice and vice is virtue. They're trying to flip the tails, or they're trying to flip everything on its head so that they can live their decadent, twisted life and not be viewed as the sickos they are. This is a society. Look, the whole Epstein Island, this should have woke society up, right? President Bill Clinton was on Epstein's plane 26 times. Photos have now just been released of him getting a massage from one of Epstein's girls that they molested. The dude, this was funny. I heard someone mention this online, and I was like, this is the most telling thing of it all. Bill Clinton was a man who some say raped, others just say used his position of power to have his sexual way with interns in the White House. He did this stuff in the White House. Just imagine what this guy would do on Epstein Island. If you are so foolish to think that, oh, Bill Clinton, he just went to Epstein Island just to, hang out on the beach. He didn't do anything improper. The dude did improper things in the White House. You think he went to Epstein Island and was like on church behavior? No. That dude, whatever he was doing in the White House, he was doing tenfold on Epstein Island. And this is just one of the major players. There is so many people involved in this. We already know Roman Polanski. We now know Harvey Weinstein. Look at Bill Cosby. How many people need to get exposed? Look at Corey Feldman, who for decades has been having this campaign about how child actors are preyed on sexually, and how he was molested as a child actor in Hollywood, and no one would listen to his story. Just be, oh, whatever, Corey, no one take it seriously. Some people go, oh, that's too bad. And no, this is fucked up. We live in a society where people of power, and notice all these people that I'm mentioning, every single one of them, without fail, 100% support the Democratic Party and the leftist movements in this country. Every single one. they're trying to twist their society so that what they do, their wickedness, is not viewed, because that's how they can get away with stuff. They want to be able to go freely to places like Epstein Island and just be like no big deal. And the only way to do that is start numbing people and normalizing. You know, it used to be being homosexual was like, woo, it's taboo. Nowadays, it's probably, you probably get more privilege being homosexual today than being straight. It's flipped. And now trans, of course, we see it in the comics community. If you're trans, here you go. What do you want to do? We'll give you a job. So many trans people in the comic book industry. It's just bizarre how something that's so rare can be so prevalent, because you have privilege and you get these things. And look, I'm not saying that any of these people deserve to be treated poorly or hated on. I don't. I absolutely believe everyone should be loved. We're all brothers and sisters. It doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with lifestyles or behaviors, but my lifestyle and behaviors aren't perfect. Like I'm a sinner with everyone else. But it doesn't mean I also ignore. It doesn't mean that I want to live in a world that like, where my sins can be justified, where my sins can be excused and pardoned. And well, hey, like, no, I don't want that. I like living in a world that expects me to be good and virtuous. I may not always live up to it, but the fact that our society wants and expects that causes me to do better. Sorry, you got me on a tirade. Also, Ash, when are you going to verify me on Discord? I didn't see you on Discord. Send me a private message on Discord. Sometimes people sign up on Discord and they don't use the same name. So if I don't recognize that name, I don't. But all you need to do is change your name to your YouTube name, or just send me a private message. I can change the name for just my channel so everyone sees, and then I'll know who you are. That's really simple. Dave Asanowicz joins at the end. He must have heard me going on a tirade against the left, and his ears were burning. So Dave's a good guy who gets it all. Dave, good to see you. Yeah, I don't want to reopen that can of worms, but it's getting late. It's after midnight here on my side, which means the stream went on for a pretty long time. You guys hung out like champs, like always. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to have people to talk to, and read comics to, and so forth. You can find me on Discord, we just talked about. You can find me on Twitter, Ash1138. Leave comments on any of my YouTube videos. I do read every single comment. I am still looking for suggestions on comics to read. If you care about that sort of thing, I would love to hear suggestions. I've gotten a couple of good ones already. I love discovering new comics. I love talking comics. So please don't take that as an empty invitation. I'm not just trying to say things to sound nice or whatever. Everything I say is sincere. Eric says, wrap it up. Cuties dropped 10 minutes ago. Oh, Eric is still here. Oh, man. Eric always makes me laugh. He's a good guy. Eric, I'm glad that you're still here. Hopefully you got to read my butchering of Winter Soldier. Dave says, you're going to bed. I'm waking up. Oh, wow. All right. Geez, you got a weird schedule, Dave. Anyways, it's still good to see you. Dave's another guy that I've been following on Twitter for a while. He's always fun to talk about. He has a channel as well. I don't know how active he has been lately, but he does some really cool stuff where he dives in, back issue binge, where he'll dive into some like really old comics. Not necessarily like golden age, but like 70s and 80s stuff, typically, sometimes 60s. But often what I really appreciate is it's not just like, hey, look, here's a Silver Age Batman. It'll be like, here's this weird independent comic from the 70s that no one's ever heard of. You're like, what? And so, by the way, Dave, those are the ones I like that you do the best, when you do these weird, obscure books. I also liked when you did the Gold Key Star Trek. That was kind of fun as well. Yeah, so check him out. I miss your comic book pulls that you did on Twitter. Those were a lot of fun. I think you're not oh yeah, your comic book shop you're not going to anymore. Hopefully you can find a new shop or get that back going. We need to build back better, damn it. We need Biden in office. He'll make comic book shops great again. No, he won't. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, like, thanks for giving me stuff to read and people to listen and just make me feel like people actually give a shit about the sound of my voice. Hopefully you're reading good comics and enjoying yourself. I have been reading Oblivion Song. I got back into it because my buddy, Big Firepower, got him. He's like, oh, Firepower. I was like talking about Robert Kirkman, and I'm like, I'm like behind on an Oblivion Song, kind of embarrassing. I was like, I need to start that up. So I started last night. I read like 3 issues, and I was like, holy shit. I got to like the best issue I've read so far. I was like, this was so good. So I can't wait to dive back into these books. I have some more issues to go. Hopefully you have a comic book that you're equally enthused about. And if you do, tell me about it. Like I said, I love hearing about it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next